All right, we are live. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 21 of the Gaming Perspective podcast. This podcast is now old enough that it can buy beer in the United States. So welcome to episode 21. We've got a great list of topics. We're going to talk a lot about Gamescom and all the great things that got announced, shown, and really quickly stacking 2019 up to be insane. So first, I'm going to introduce my panel. I'm going to start with the regular people. So I've got Mr. Samuel Tolbert, editor for the Inner Circle Games Network.
Hey, everybody. How's it going? Glad you're here with us.
I've got Jared from the Inner Circle Games Network as well.
Welcome, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get going.
All right. I don't have Eric here tonight. He's enjoying a wife with his night. A night with his wife. Which is very well deserved. Now, I can't give Mike here a Lord Cognito intro. I can't even. Dude, Eric's not here to do his introducing impersonation, so I can't even give him that. But from NLG Gaming, I've got Mike Mullis here as a guest.
I'm the irregular person. Don't worry. I can't even give me a Lord Cognito intro, so don't feel bad.
It would take you all day to think up of an intro of that quality. You'll do like 15 different versions before you finalize.
Dude, when I was on Iron Lord's podcast and he introduced me, at the end of the introduction, I said, "Are you sure you're talking about me?"
I said
he's a legend, man. He is a legend. The way he does.
Oh my God! I will pay him to give me lessons.
Yeah, same. All right, so we're gonna kick off the podcast because me and Sam were lucky enough, thanks to the great people down at Rebellion, we got to access Strange Brigade a little bit early and got to play some of the co-op action. We can talk a little bit about the first level and basic impressions. So I'm gonna kick it over to Sam. Sam, what do you think of Strange Brigade so far?
I mean, I said this back when I played it at E3, but it's a blast. It really is. It's a laid-back, fun co-op game. I definitely think you agree with me that most of the fun does come from it being in co-op, or a lot of the fun anyways. It's definitely not a game you'd want to play by yourself, but the aesthetic is just this ridiculous laid-back adventure of we've got 1930s with a bit of, Saturday morning serial TV episodes type going, but there's also a little Indiana Jones adventure, and the narrator is talking about every little thing that you do. It's really fun, and it's really enjoyable. I can't really go into specifics based off of the campaign or stuff like that, but the guns really surprised me with how good they feel. They're fun. They're mechanical. They click. They feel like they have weight to them, which is good because, shooting, you're going to be doing a lot of shooting. So what about you? Anything in particular?
I really can't stop talking about the gunplay. Like, I shouldn't be surprised because this is the same studio that gave us Sniper Elite, which is like the epitome of fun gunplay, because like that whole game series is based around, slow-mo ball shots. That like Sniper Elite was such a fantastic game with the dynamics and everything. It's amazing how they transitioned this to a co-op game. And like the small attention to detail, like yesterday, Sam realized that when we were replaying through the first level, if you roll, when you throw a grenade, your character physically will throw it over their shoulder. Like the arm motion matches the direction you're throwing. And it's like the small attention to detail. Or that when you're walking backwards and you're using a repeating rifle, after you shoot, when you go to rechamber, you'll do a small spinning animation as your guy snaps back to aiming where he was after every reload. Ooh. And it's really crisp, and the aiming has to be super precise. If you're using any of the precision weapons, where that little tiny dot is exactly where that bullet's gonna go. So the gunplay is insanely tight. And I can't not talk about the narrator. The narrator for that game is just, it's 1930s dry British.
Boy.
And every time they introduce a new enemy, there's a pun and an introduction card, and it's absolutely fantastic. If you have a couple of friends that are kind of interested in this game, or if you have a game share partner, I definitely recommend picking this up. This is just from the first level, between there being a nice mix of puzzles, shooting, everything else. It's fun. It's corny fun, but it's a lot of fun.
Good. That's actually it hasn't been much on my radar, but now after you talking about it, definitely because you guys know how much I like Vermintide 2. So now this is definitely feels like it's up my alley.
And also too, I can mention without going into detail, I got to play one of the Horde maps with a friend. And the Horde mode from the one level I played, it's absolutely fantastic. It's got a Horde mode and a score attack mode as well. But the Horde mode is challenging and a lot of fun, and there's a lot of variety to what you can do via like upgrading your weapons and finding treasure and finding health potions and the sheer amount of enemies they throw at you. I was on like wave 6. And there was at least 200 plus enemies they were throwing at me, and I was playing by myself. This wasn't with a teammate. This was like, go through all your ammo, go run, try to outrun everything, grab more ammo, and hope to God you could outrun everything. And it's just there's a lot of variety, and it's really good too because it's Sam will correct me because I'm not so good with US pricings. It's $10 cheaper than your standard AAA game.
It's a $50 game. It's not $60. Yeah, so
it's $50. So it takes that small little bite off a bit. And from what I played at the first level, I could definitely say it's a very good game. Now, Sam will have a full review for that on Monday.
Not quite Monday. A little further out than that. A little further out. Very soon. It will be next week. Keep your eyes peeled.
Okay, so it'll be next week. Sorry, I'm not looking at my calendar correctly.
No worries.
So keep an eye out for that. If you're sitting on the fence with this game, you can actually check out this channel. I've got the first 15 minutes of gameplay actually posted. You can check that out. And you also check out at the Circle Games Network. We've got a written preview piece between me and Sam detailing some of the stuff that we didn't cover. So yeah, so we'll move on to Gamescom because that's the big piece of news. And is it just me, or like I've started paying more attention to games media, but has this been one of the better Gamescoms as a whole than the past few years?
It's better than last year, but that was a really low bar. That was a really low bar. Like that bar didn't even go off the ground. It was just lying there.
That was the Xbox One X announcement, wasn't it? Like, hey, it's available now. Wasn't
no, that was the Xbox Design Labs was the announcement for Gamescom, I think.
Right. No. Last year there was no announcement. Period. It was rehashed E3 trailers.
Right. That's where the Phil's thumb drive came from.
And 2016. Okay, someone correct me if I'm wrong. They didn't do a Gamescom show in 2016, did they? They just didn't do anything. Period. I don't think they did. Microsoft. Yeah, they didn't do one in 2016. They did something in 2017, but it was basically just, hey, we're here, we exist.
They did a fan fest.
They did fan fest, right. Right. FanFest is one thing. Because the reason I'm asking is they did do Gamescom in 2014 and 2015. And I remember, I don't know if you guys remember, their 2015 Gamescom was like E3 Part 2. Right. It was fantastic. That was when they got Remedy in there, and they had Sean Ashmore and what's his face? The guy who big Game of Thrones actor. He played the villain. They had all the
guy played Littlefinger.
Yeah. I can't remember his name off the top of my head right now. I'll have to look it up. But they had them there talking about the game, how it had grown. They had some third-party stuff. They showed Rise of the Tomb Raider. And they ended it by revealing Halo Wars 2. That came out of left field, and they announced that. That was really, really cool. That Gamescom was great. So, Aidan Gillen, thank you. That's it. Yeah,
so
great actor.
Traditionally, Gamescom is more of a Microsoft-focused event. There's third parties there and everything else, but Sony typically doesn't have a strong presence at Gamescom, and neither does Nintendo.
Not traditionally. Like, I don't even think that someone's free to correct me if I'm wrong here. I don't think Sony even shows up. They do Tokyo Game Show and Paris Games.
Yeah, no,
they have a booth.
Yeah, they have a booth. They have a booth,
but they haven't had a press conference in forever. Because you're right, they've moved. What they did was they moved that to Paris Games Week and PlayStation Experience.
Yeah, right, and they seem to alternate. Again, please correct me if I'm wrong. Where one year they'll do Tokyo Game Show, and then the other year they'll do Paris Games Week, and they seem to be alternating those on like a 2-year cycle.
Yep. Yeah, that seems pretty accurate. So there's a lot of stuff that was covered for Xbox Gamescom. We're going to get into that a little bit later, but we're going to talk about some of the games that we got to see more of thanks to some of the Gamescom stuff. So the first thing I want to talk about, is a personal thing for me, is that Resident Evil 2 remake got more gameplay and more screenshots. And boy, I don't think Capcom's hitting this point now where they're on such a rebound. Like, don't you remember like 8 months ago, where it was like, who's going to buy Capcom because they're not doing so hot. And now it's to the point of, wow, look at what Capcom's doing.
They finally got a hold of that capability of really using that current gen technology. And they go, yes, finally.
Capcom will not have fully come back until Deep Down is released.
Well, by that reasoning, they're never going to come back.
Or Dino Crisis.
Dino Crisis could. There is a chance. There is a chance it could happen. It's not likely, but no, Capcom's made a real comeback. Resident Evil 2 Remake, it looks good. I got to play that at E3. It controls well. It's basically a whole new game. Like, it follows the same plot of Resident Evil 2, and that's it. They've changed everything around. There's new levels. Enemies are different now. The gameplay, obviously, it's third person over the shoulder in the RE engine, because the RE engine is what they're using for all their stuff now. Yeah, it's good. It's really
There's
good.
also a little cool thing I was reading online, thanks to a translated article from Jamatsu, is that they're including all the Easter eggs as well, which means, technically speaking, you might be able to play as a piece of tofu. Which was one of the great Easter eggs of, I believe, Resident Evil 2. I'm pretty sure that was Resident Evil 2. I could be wrong on that one. But Capcom has a grasp with Resident Evil 2 remake, and I think they kind of learned it from Resident Evil 7. They lost their way with Resident Evil 6. Like, Resident Evil 6 was financially successful for Capcom, but it really didn't click with fans. Resident Evil 7 was a risk. They changed how they approach Resident Evil games with that game. And with them to re-tackle Resident Evil 2, I think people say remakes are safe as a general rule of thumb. Remasters and remakes are a safe bet usually, but with all the changes and everything they made to this, I think they took a real risk with this, and I'm really happy to see the quality they're coming out. I think a huge part of this that makes this game so appealing is putting it in that engine that Resident Evil 7 was made in, because that game visually looks stunning and mechanically looks absolutely amazing.
Oh, it's wonderful. It's a really, really good horror game, honestly. I'm a huge fan of RE7. Huge fan. I can't speak enough of how well made that game is.
I'm sure Sam will co-sign that, as that's one of his favorite games.
It's really good. I'm still amazed you haven't played it yet.
I banked it for Halloween. There will be a stream.
Good.
I'm going to try and convince Cal to co-stream Alien Isolation.
I was just going to say, I understand Alien Isolation, but RE7, man, you have to play that. It's too good. Too good.
Mike, what about you? Have you seen any of the RE2 remake?
Hang on for what that guy. Sorry.
No worries.
Oh, no worries, buddy.
But yeah, and by the way, did you guys see? I presume you watched the gameplay, right? You all watched it. Okay, so the gore system that they're using this time around, with like the way the zombies just get blown apart and there's chunks. It's fantastic.
It just seems like they took. It almost seemed like RE7 was like a experimental game for them to do, and then they're like, okay, so we can do this in RE7. What can we do in Resident Evil 2 remastered, but better? And they went, let's do this, and it seems like, I don't know. I've said this before. It's the little things in games that, to me, make up the whole picture, and what really defines a game for quality. And it seems like they're really focusing on that aspect for Resident Evil 2, big time.
Yeah, and what's crazy to me is Capcom is making a huge hit, not just with that, but with 2 games this year, because they've also got Devil May Cry 5. And
that's right.
Oh, right. Right. I say I wasn't as much a Resident Evil guy, so I played the first one. I think I played the second one. I think I dabbled in 5 when it came out.
Okay,
but I'm not. It's not my. It wasn't as. I don't know how to.
It wasn't your thing.
Yeah, it wasn't quite my thing.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and that's fine. But because one of the things that was explained to me again is Capcom is treating this like a whole new game. It's not like, let me use an example, the Shadow of the Colossus remake, where it's a remake, it's beautiful, it's done from the ground up by Bluepoint, but at the end of the day, it is the same game. Capcom is treating this as a brand new game release. And so they're viewing this as an opportunity to pull fans who, maybe hopped on with 7 or fell off after 3 or 4 or didn't play anything beyond the first one. They're treating this as an opportunity to pull those people in.
And to people that are excited about this game, stay excited too, because due to a Capcom financial report as well, is Capcom's goal is to remake more from the backlog of the Resident Evil series and more from their backlog franchises like this while pressing forward. So you could potentially see another Resident Evil remake on top of a Resident Evil 8.
Which I'd be fine with. I'm okay with that.
I'd be okay with that too.
Capcom being back in action is a wonderful thing for the industry. Monster Hunter World is their best-selling game ever.
10 million units.
Ever. Over 10 million. It's well over 10 million at this point. I think that's the last official. That was the last official number we got, but that was a couple of months ago. And it's like, yeah, it's fantastic. It's wonderful to see Devil May Cry 5. See, I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum where I've never really been a Devil May Cry guy. I've never really been in on that. But hey, you know what? 4 is in Game Pass, so okay.
I'm one of those guys too, because I will commit the blasphemy here. I've never played a Devil May Cry game.
Same.
I have a while ago. I do find it funny that the character in Devil May Cry 5 and kind of the way he goes about his business and the large boss battles kind of thing kind of reminds you of a certain game that was canceled.
It kind of does, doesn't it?
Supposed to be out.
Another cocky, short,
millennial kid.
Yeah,
going against dragons.
There's more than a passing resemblance.
Name of that game? What was it called?
It's almost like there's a target audience for that kind of game.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Microsoft is the one aggressively marketing.
The developer, right?
Hey, check out this awesome game with a super edgy teenage guy fighting dragons.
And I promise the developer won't block you all.
Yeah. The difference is he's just excited. Okay, all right, enough of the clowning around. But in all seriousness, it is funny to me. I didn't play it. It's also in Game Pass, so I will play it now. But I know the Ninja Theory developed like alternate continuity DMC Devil May Cry was very divisive for the fans, but Capcom and Hideaki Itsuno-san, he's the director right now on Devil May Cry 5, have said that Ninja Theory's game is one of their big guiding influences, and said that they're really pulling from the style of that one in designing Devil May Cry 5. So given the fans' contention there, I thought that was kind of interesting.
Well, see, I get a kick out of that because I have a friend that's a hardcore Devil May Cry guy, and he absolutely hated the Ninja Theory game. And when he heard that quote, he was like white knuckle, just like, no! How dare you enjoy things? Oh, but no, it's interesting because Devil May Cry is one of those games of a genre we don't see a lot of anymore. And I say this because the hack and slash genre has gotten significantly smaller than it was on previous generations. Because if anyone remembers 360 and PS3, hack and slash games were like a dime a dozen.
No, you're right. It's definitely not as abundant as it used to be, which is a little surprising, but maybe that's because the evolution of game mechanics has, progressed a little bit further past that to where it gone from hack and slash to something else entirely now. Like, for example, God of War, that's still hack and slash, but it doesn't feel like it used to be hack and slash.
World. It's all open world now.
Yeah. See, the thing is gaming goes through phases. And Mike's gamed long enough that Mike's our OG guy in here.
Okay. Why didn't you just say what you want to say?
Oh boy.
And he will co-sign this. We go through phases in gaming, and there's patterns of what hits popularity and then dies out, and then it'll come back. And a perfect example is FPS games during the 360 and PS3 era was just like every other game was an FPS game.
Yep.
And then that started to die out a bit. And in this generation, the big thing has been open world RPGs. And I say open world light RPGs, not heavy RPGs, light RPGs. Open world games with very light RPG mechanics. That has been the big thing this generation. Now, I can't say FPS games aren't big because God knows ID Software and Machine Games are making sure people don't forget about them with Doom and Wolfenstein. And
soon to be Rage 2.
And Rage 2 as well, with the fantastic work from Avalanche, which, by the way, that got more gameplay as well. And can I just say that the amount of growth that Avalanche has had since Mad Max, which was also a fantastic game that I don't understand people's hatred for, I'm really excited for that game.
Also in Game Pass, by the way.
Yes, and well worth playing. I picked it up for $3 a few months ago, and I played through it, and I do not regret it at all.
I started playing it, and I don't understand why people hated it.
Okay, I don't want to give anything away. Sorry, I had something going on with my camera there. But the ending is not satisfactory. A lot of people were not happy about that.
So the game was good, but the ending ruined it.
Yeah, I'm not going to give it away, but the ending, even though it's a really old game now, but the ending is not great. But we're getting a sequel now, so why does that matter? It's fine.
I think this comes back to like with the Capcom thing too. It's really interesting that Bethesda sat down and went, you know what? We should bring Rage back. People hated it, but we should bring that back. And we're not going to make ID make it. We're going to get Avalanche to make it because they did a really good Mad Max game. And if you look at the vehicle combat that they showed off in that Gamescom footage and how fluid it is to switch between the vehicle combat to the gunplay combat and how fluid that combat is, you can see what Avalanche did. You can see what ID Software did. You can see the great vehicle mechanics, the great environments and everything else that Avalanche did really well in the Mad Max game. And then you can see like the gunplay and you look at it and you're like, that's an ID Software game.
Yeah.
As far as games go for Gamescom, another one that's got everyone super excited that I'm excited for, but it's one of those games where I sit there and go, am I actually going to be able to beat this thing? Is Sekiro.
Yes, you can beat it. Anybody can beat it as long as they persevere.
Okay, yeah. See, people told me with Dark Souls and Neo. I just did
You did persevere enough.
Like Mike, I know Mike has some experiences.
I am still trying to persevere through Neo.
Man, I've not played Neo yet, as much as my brothers are trying their absolute best to get me to, but I've heard that it will frustrate even Souls veterans.
It's mediocre, honestly, for me. It like, to be brutally honest, it's very mediocre in comparison to Dark Souls and Bloodborne. And the worst part is, with Sekiro coming out in March 22nd, it's still a little bit ways away. But still, that looks to be like the pinnacle of what the Dark Souls and Bloodborne and that kind of type of game should be, sort of thing. So,
see, for me, with Sekiro, just because I love the OG Xbox, and my friend made me play his OG Xbox relentlessly when I used to hang out with him. Sekiro looks more like a Ninja Gaiden game than a From Software game.
Yeah,
and
I can see that.
I'm perfectly happy with that, because I will scream from the rooftops that we deserve a new Ninja Gaiden game. People like hard games. Ninja Gaiden. I think that was the first game I ever broke a controller on. Was Ninja. I can't remember which Ninja Gaiden game on the OG Xbox, but I do distinctly remember breaking a Duke playing that game.
I think there were only two. There was Ninja Gaiden and Ninja Gaiden Black.
I'm pretty sure it was. I'm pretty sure it was Ninja Gaiden, because it was like a couple of my friend got the OG Xbox when it like first came out. It was like a couple of months after that, so pretty sure it was the original Ninja Gaiden. Either way, it was insanely frustrating but rewarding at the same time. And Sekiro looks like an interesting take, because like with From Software games, everyone's kind of got them pigeonholed. And when I say pigeonholed, is everyone figures that they're just making another Dark Souls game. And when they said that they weren't doing Bloodborne 2 and that they were going to do something completely different, and then they announced Sekiro, and I was kind of like, I'm interested, because a lot of previews for this game indicate that you approach this game from a stealth perspective, and that if you don't take on enemies in a single one-on-one combat or disable them through stealth tactics, you will be overwhelmed very, very, very quickly. Not the same tactics required for previous From Software games. So it's interesting to see them take this approach. Is anyone interested in Sekiro? I know a few people here.
No, very much. Very
absolutely.
much.
I'm a From Software fan. I've loved everything they've done so far. So them taking on an action game, I'm fine with. The gameplay.
No complaints from me.
Yep.
Yeah, it looks fantastic.
Yeah. I'm a fan of the period of that kind of period game. So, swordplay and samurai and that kind of thing is that draws me to it. That's why why everybody else likes Dark Souls and Bloodborne more. I like Neo more because I like the period that it's in, and I like the scope of what it is. And Sekiro looks right up my alley.
Yes, I agree with you, and I'd like. I'll be honest. Even with the slight speculation of Assassin's Creed going to feudal Japan next game, I just go, finally.
I've been screaming from the rooftop since they killed off Ezio. Oh, sorry. Spoiler alert for a 6-year-old game.
Nah. Dominus Requiem.
Yeah. I've been screaming for an Assassin's Creed game set in feudal Japan. Jared's face, that was worth it. So good. But
now he can't. Now he can't play the game.
Yeah, no. So it's good because we can segue into talking about Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It's a good segue, Mike.
You're welcome.
So I haven't played an Assassin's Creed game since Brotherhood. I didn't play Origins. I didn't play Assassin's Creed 4. I started Syndicate. And I just couldn't get through some of the dialogue in Syndicate. The brother was just terrible.
You haven't played Origins.
No.
You gotta have a top. Just saying.
No, I'm just gonna skip Origins and go right into Odyssey. I'll play Odyssey. Well, since we're just killing Jared here,
my heart.
I'm trying to find Sam. What's something else we can dunk on Jared on since we got him on the
ropes? Spider-Man would be a good topic, but that's not really.
Don't keep talking about Spooderman around Jared.
Spooderman. In all seriousness, trying to get back on topic, you really want to dive into Assassin's Creed? Honestly, right now?
No. See, the thing with this Assassin's Creed series, after Brotherhood,
Hold on, I gotta mute. Hold on.
After God damn it, guys, you guys are the worst. I can't. After Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, there was something about the Ezio storyline. I can't even look at Mike and Jared right now. I'm just downsizing the window. I just can't even look at them right now. There's just something about after Brotherhood, after that Ezio storyline wrapped up, and then buying Assassin's Creed 3. I'm not sure if people remember Assassin's Creed 3. The cinematic trailer where it showed you like jumping enemy lines and assassinating people with hatchets. I thought this is going to be a really, really cool game. And then they had an opportunity with going with the Native American route with Assassin's Creed 3 that they lost. Like Connor was the most uninteresting character ever written in the history of video games on the Xbox 360. He was just angry. He was edgy and angry about everything. And I just could not finish the game. And that turned me off of Assassin's Creed for a long time. I didn't play 4. I tried out Syndicate. I should go back and finish Syndicate. I played the side-scrolling Assassin's Creeds and thought those were kind of fun. But I haven't touched Assassin's Creed. Odyssey looks like it could be good. Potentially. So, anyone here pick up Assassin's Creed Odyssey in the deep hole that is the fall games lineup?
I don't know.
Totally not buying that. No, trash. Put it in the bushes.
I can't. There is no way. It doesn't fit. There's way too much this fall for me to do that. And I haven't even played Origins yet. Or Syndicate, for that matter. So, I'm like... I was hoping they'd go back to 2 years, a 2-year cycle. I'm sorry, Mike. I didn't mean to interrupt you,
I was getting ready to say exactly that.
The fact that they're doing another game this year is, I'm like, why? Ubisoft, you are sitting on another phenomenal franchise that you heavily teased, cryptically, but you did tease earlier this year, and then nothing came of it. Why are we getting another Assassin's Creed?
No. You do not get to talk about Splinter Cell without me getting angry about it.
I mean, seriously.
Like, no. See, the thing is I thought they struck gold with Origins. The only reason I didn't buy Origins was I was mad broke at the time. I did not have the money for it and everything else. And then by the time it got affordable, I had way too many games in my backlog.
Do you have it now? Did you purchase it?
I have it. My game share partner bought it.
Good. Keep it that way. We'll have a chat. Jared. Don't worry.
Damn it, Jared. The thing is with Assassin's Creed Origins, I don't want to play the game and then try to go into Odyssey because I know I'll open world burn myself out. And the setting for Odyssey appeals to me a lot more than the setting for Origins. Origins, like, I have Origins because my wife's playing it right now. My wife is an Egyptian mythology nerd. And all I do is whenever she's playing it, I scream in the background, Norse mythology's better! Yeah, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, it looks good, but like Sam said, I kind of wish they'd taken another year off. I feel like an Assassin's Creed game every 2 years is good, and I feel like the Assassin's Creed game every year thing is what made that franchise go stale.
It is. It absolutely is. Just not even from a quality perspective, just people don't have time to go through that kind of game every single year when there's a ton of other stuff as well.
Oversaturated easily.
Yeah, very oversaturated.
And I echo Nick, your issues with the characters in 3. I didn't finish 3 and actually skipped 4 because of it. And I didn't get back to it until Origins, to be quite honest. And I haven't even finished Origins just because it's so damn big that
it's a long game. It really is. So it definitely is worth the play though. Like, I guess as you guys can all tell, I'm a big Origins fan.
No.
I couldn't figure that out at all.
Like, legitimately, I was actually upset that it wasn't even considered for the Game Awards Game of the Year nominees in general. I was like, okay, this is coming down near the end of 2017, and it's legitimately a fantastic game because of all the changes that they made with that game. A lot of the mechanic changes, the gameplay, how it plays, the style in general of that game. They kept the original feel of Assassin's Creed games, yet expanding on it into a true RPG type of game. And I just go, honestly, how the hell did this not make like Game of the Year nominees? It's absolutely fantastic, and I love Egyptian mythology, and so this was really up my alley. Loved it, and it's like, I'll just quickly say that, like, I've been a consistent Assassin's Creed fan ever since the very beginning, and honestly, I feel the second one is the worst game out of the whole damn series because of how repetitive it is, and they capitalized on that just to bolster the content in that game. I think it's the worst, and then when I played Assassin's Creed Origins, I felt like ever since that was the only game ever since Black Flag that really truly allowed the game to develop and change and evolve into what it is now and to where the direction it's currently going. So, to me, the first game, Black Flag, and Origins are probably the 3 main games you want to play out in the whole series if you truly want to see how that game has evolved over the years.
I absolutely want to say that, Jared, that is one of the most well-spoken, put-together pieces that you've had on this podcast. And I also kind of want to slap you in the face for your absolute slander of Assassin's Creed 2.
I knew it. It's okay. That's okay, because I know everybody loves AC2. I totally do.
The thing is Assassin's Creed sold me on my Xbox 360. Okay? I remember, it's going to sound like this is going to date me for how young I am. I was watching Much Music with my cousins. And they had the developers of Assassin's Creed on, the original game.
Really?
They were talking about how they used to have a game, like a video game 30-minute show they used to do on the Much Music channel.
Mm-hmm.
And they had the Assassin's Creed developers on. And they were talking about how they had this massive open world, like you could, go through Damascus. And you could climb all these historic buildings and all these things. And it blew my mind at the time because there was no game doing what that game did at that time. The original Assassin's Creed game pushed the boundaries of so many things.
Yeah.
And to see Origins double down and go further into an RPG and less of an action game, totally awesome direction for the series. And I'm so glad that Origins did so well, and Ubisoft came out and said that they're not doing another Assassin's Creed game next year, that they're waiting, that they got Origins, they're going to release Odyssey, and then they're going to ride Odyssey out for 2 years. So that means there'll be a Assassin's Creed game to go on the next gen consoles, which makes sense. But the series has come a long way, and I'm glad they got it out of the hole that they found themselves in with 3. Now we're gonna have to move right along because there's way too many games to talk about.
Yeah.
So some of the other third-party games got brought up at Inside Xbox. So when we hit Inside Xbox, we'll talk about them there. We're gonna talk about Supermassive.
Oh yeah.
So I know there's more to the studio name. It's Supermassive
Games.
Supermassive Games. Thank you. Always with game studios, I'm horrible with remembering if it's games, developers, or studio, or whatever they have at the tail end of the names. So Supermassive were the creative minds behind Until Dawn, and they also did the VR game, and they've also done a couple other VR exclusives for Sony. They've got a new trilogy coming out. I'm going to pass this over to Sam because this is more of his interest point than mine. Because I'm not going to pretend like I played Until Dawn or really had an interest in it or anything that way. So Sam's going to take over for this topic. Go ahead.
Okay, so Supermassive Games. I'm going to ask, how many of us here have played Until Dawn?
I have barely touched that game, and I'm kind of disappointed that I have. I really should pick up back up.
So basically, I
played the VR one, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, sorry. What was that, Mike?
I played the VR one.
Oh, okay. You played the VR one. Did you play the original game?
No.
Okay, so you played the rail shooter that is barely inspired by the game.
Right, really. Right. Yeah, no.
Dang, you guys are killing me. You guys are killing me here. Okay. All right. So, have any of you ever played a Quantic Dreams title? Like, Detroit Become Human or...
Oh, yeah.
Have you read some of that? Okay. So, it's very similar to that in... that's what Until Dawn was. But let me back up a little bit. Supermassive Games has always been a second-party studio for Sony. They developed DLC for Little Big Planet and Little Big Planet 2. They helped with the development of a couple of games. They ported Killzone HD over from the original PlayStation, stuff like that. Well, no, I mean not from the original PlayStation. I mean from the PS2. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was weird. And so Until Dawn was them taking a stab at the interactive Telltale type genre, where you control a cast of characters, you walk around in a set scene, interact with objects, make decisions, so forth. And it was really good. It's basically a cheesy love letter to any like the old slasher films, like the original Friday the 13th or A Nightmare on Elm Street or The Howling, any of those types of movies. It's a love letter to that whole genre. There's a lot of plot twist. It's a short game. It's only 5 or 6 hours long, and that's if you really stretch it out a bit. But it's infinitely replayable due to all the different decisions and stuff. So a lot of people, including myself, really, really loved it. It was a surprise hit in 2015. For us on the as far as PS4 exclusives went. So a lot of us assumed that we were going to be getting a sequel, and we never did. We never got a sequel. We kept on not hearing anything. We just knew Supermassive was hiring. And then at Gamescom, just before Inside Xbox, we learned that they have announced the the Dark Pictures Anthology. And this is going to be a ongoing series of horror-influenced horror games, scary movie type stuff, where they've got a cast of characters introduced into a horrific setting, and you control whether they all live or they all die based off of your decisions. A series of Until Dawn inspired games. But the difference is they're starting with this new one called Man of Medan. They're not starting with Until Dawn, and they've actually gone fully multi-platform, which is a complete shock given the studio history and how close of a tie they have with Sony. So that's basically the whole background there, Nick, as far as that all goes. Any questions? Or
no, perfect. See, this is the thing is I don't like when we have topics on the show. I want to cover specific stuff, but if I don't have experience with it, I don't like talking about stuff that I haven't had a chance to dive into. And Until Dawn, I'm going to be doing a lot of streaming in the upcoming little bit. And in October, I've got a whole list of horror games. Resident Evil 7, Outlast 2, everything else. Basically, October is can Nicholas die of a heart attack? And Until Dawn's on that list because one of the things that I love about the theory behind Until Dawn is with Telltale games, your characters die if they die. Like there's no, you could have prevented this. You know what I mean? Whereas with Until Dawn, there's an achievement for killing the whole cast, and there's an achievement for, or a trophy, sorry, for saving the whole cast. So that means your actions and decisions actually have an impact. And I think in those kind of storytelling games, when you can do something like that, that's a really unique way of doing it. And the fact that they're making this kind of game, which appeals to a very specific audience, and then they're making this kind of game to a horror audience, which is an even more specific audience, I really got to give them props for sticking to that. And that's what they want to do, because they clearly, from how you've talked about Until Dawn, I've talked to people that have played the game, have very high opinion of that game. Clearly, they did something right with that game, so people should be excited for this trilogy. It's really interesting they announced it as a trilogy. You don't really see games too often anymore announce a 3, being like, yeah, there's 3 games to this.
Yeah, like, I guess to me, it really, for me, it makes me think, and I go, how well do those games actually do on the PlayStation platform? Is there, like, really, truly, like, you know, as maybe a sales reason they're going towards being multi-platform now, or it's just because we go, you know what, our contract is up, screw it, let's go multi-platform, let's just go for it.
See, I don't know why Until Dawn didn't get a sequel, and there's a little bit of wonder with me with some of the early PlayStation titles. And it's not a slight against PlayStation, but we're sitting here, we don't have an Order sequel. We don't have a sequel to Until Dawn, but we got a Knack 2.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Like, if there was games, and I'll say this, and Sam can correct me if I'm wrong, there was a good possibility with Until Dawn to build a universe.
That's because that was my whole point. I talked in the Discord about this. Until Dawn should have been the start of this anthology, because it's not a trilogy, it's an anthology. And the director of the studio said they have plans for 39 different games, in theory. 39 games. Now, some of those might not get realized, but that's what they have plans for. And they've scaled up, they've hired a bunch of new staff, and they're aiming to release 2 games per year.
So I wonder if they're going the route of what most indie developers are doing now and wanting to just continue to, you know, own their own IP. I think the difference with Until Dawn is Sony published that. So I think Sony, as they've done in the past, I think they own the Until Dawn IP.
Correct. They own that IP. That's why they got them to do Until Dawn Rush of Blood, which really doesn't have any relation to the original game, by the way. It's just a rail shooter.
Yeah.
And then they did the Impact, which is a PSVR prequel horror game to Until Dawn.
But, you know, Ready at Dawn, for example, you know, with the Order, you know, then they went off and they were doing their own thing. And I'm not sure if they're doing anything at the moment. I know they had a couple of things on the docket, but I don't think we've seen them. I think we saw the one that came out of GameStop. But I'm trying to think what else we've seen from them recently. But, you know, I have a feeling whatever they do could become, you know, multi-platform. And I think Supermassive went that same route. They see everyone else. They see how easy it is as an indie developer to actually publish your own stuff now. And so not being tied to one of the other, you know, major publisher, or going with a publisher like EA or something like that, gets them the ability to hit both install bases. And I think that that tells me that there's enough of a Microsoft install base to make it worth it for Supermassive to move.
Right. Supermassive has taken the approach of, okay, if we stay with Sony, evidently they're going to have us continue to crank out PSVR games. I mean, evidently, because they also are doing or did Bravo Team, which I did not play, but my understanding is it wasn't all that great. I don't know. That's what I've heard.
No, see, the thing is with Supermassive is the Impatient did horribly.
It did? I'm not surprised, but...
Hold on. I will pull it up so I don't misquote it. But good friend of mine who's Supermassive Games. If I remember correctly, one of my friends is a big PSVR head. Said it was terrible, and I believe the Metacritic for it is something like 40.
Wow.
Oh no, sorry, 59.
Oh well, that makes a difference.
It was poorly fleshed out, poorly recognized. It was, as someone in the chat just confirmed, it was very, very, very buggy and glitchy. Unfortunately, which unfortunately in a horror game, if you got glitches and bugs, it kind of takes away from that whole immersion, which kind of kills it. And Ready at Dawn, the only game they've really done since The Order 1886 is Deformers.
Right, that was it.
Ready at Dawn is not exactly the best example to use because I'd like to see what their new project is before we... The Deformers was a quick little thing. Let's just be honest. It was a quick little, hey, we need an injection of cash, and I'm not even sure if it accomplished that. No. But Supermassive, I don't know, it's just... It bugs me, and it's kind of weird in a way because obviously we talk a lot about different studios Microsoft might pick up because, let's just be honest, Microsoft's first-party stable has been a subject of much contention over the last few years. I don't think that's a controversial statement. Sony has, you know, a couple of exceptions perhaps withstanding, curated a very impressive library. They have their artistic team, their talented devs, like the ICE team handling tech within Naughty Dog, all that. But I always felt, me personally, that Supermassive was one of the few teams that it made sense, even now, for Sony to pull in. Because they supported them for so long, they did a bunch of dev work and support work for their other teams. And Until Dawn, again, I'll scream this from the rooftops, it's a fantastic game. If you like the Telltale genre, it's one of the best out there, as far as I'm concerned. So I don't know. We'll see. My brother actually asked in the chat that none of the games will be in the same universe, right? I don't know. It's an anthology, and they've said that each game is going to have a different cast of characters, and it's going to have like a different horror situation. Like the one upcoming, for example, Man of Medan, is about a ghost ship. It's about 4 friends and the captain of the boat they're on who go down, try to dive for sunken treasure, and it's a haunted ship. And then who knows what the other stories might be. Whether or not that means they're in the same universe, I don't know. So we'll see.
It's interesting. You look at Supermassive Games library. Before Until Dawn, they didn't really have too much in the way they did Killzone. They worked on the original Killzone.
Well, they ported it. They ported it over, basically.
Yeah. They did Start the Party on PS3. They did Doctor Who: The Eternity. Walking with Dinosaurs. And then they did Until Dawn. But since Until Dawn, they did Until Dawn Rush of Blood. They did Hidden Agenda, which, believe it or not, I've heard pretty decent things about. They did Bravo Team, and they did The Inpatient. So they've done exclusively PSVR games since. And Bravo Team did a whopping 45 on Metacritic with an average review rating, average user rating of 2 out of 10. So,
wow.
Yikes. So hopefully they'll be able to find their footing, what they found with Until Dawn, and hopefully with it being multi-plat, they can find success with that. Because I think there's a lot of talented developers in that team. It's just a matter of them doing what they love versus what another company wants them to do. So we're going to talk about Inside Xbox at Gamescom. Next topic here. And I'm going to give a precursor, not necessarily a rant, but I'm really getting tired of getting tagged on social media during Inside Xbox events when nothing major gets announced on these pressers. And when people are going to realize that Inside Xbox is primarily geared for Xbox fans, and they're not trying to sell you a console on the things that are presented at this show. Precursor warning here. So there were some interesting things that showed up at Inside Xbox Gamescom edition. And there were some things that didn't show up that were interesting. We're going to talk about what showed up that's going to be interesting. So it's no doubt now with Xbox that they're really trying to kick the Xbox Game Preview program into gear. They've got Hunt the Showdown, which was announced, which is a surprise, but not really because it's Crytek, and Crytek and Xbox have always been pretty tight. So the Hunt Showdown will be entering Game Preview in early September. DayZ is going to be hitting Xbox Game Preview in 4 days, which will be interesting. That was also announced at Inside Xbox.
Remember, that was announced first at a Sony conference.
Yeah.
Remember that?
No, I remember that because back in 2015, I remember Sony sunk a ton of money for DayZ to hit PlayStation first, and then the developers ditched.
Yep.
The game and everything else. The lead developer ditched, and then all that resources got funneled into H1Z1, I think, which is where Brendan Green came from.
Well, that was Sony Online Entertainment, whatever Daybreak Studio or whatever they became.
Yeah, because they got sold. It's actually funny because Brendan Green, who did PlayerUnknown Battleground, which was also featured inside Xbox, worked on DayZ, was part of the team that got shuffled over to H1Z1, and then went on to make his own Battle Royale game after he basically did I can make my own Battle Royale game with blackjack and hookers, and left the H1Z1 team. So it's interesting to see so many PC games hitting Game Preview on Xbox now. Does anyone have any interest in Hunt the Showdown or DayZ? Are these any games you guys are interested in? Me personally, Hunt the Showdown kind of looks interesting. DayZ, I bought it on PC back God knows how long ago. I ain't going back. I ain't biting the bullet twice.
I have less than no interest in DayZ. I'm sorry if anyone is. I don't. But Hunt Showdown is a very fun game. I played that in co-op quite a bit. I reviewed that or did some impressions anyways, on the PC version. It's really good. The only thing I'm wondering is that's a Crytek game. It runs on CryEngine. It's pretty rough even on a capable PC right now. It's still in Steam preview. So I'm curious how cinematic it's going to be when it first hits Game Preview. We'll see how performance goes.
I agree. Like, it's Crytek, like Sam said. Very curious as how it's going to run on Xbox of all things, and still not even a full-fledged game on PC in the first place. So you go, all right, well, let's see how the Xbox consoles can handle it. But for DayZ, yeah, actually, I think I'm going to play it because I enjoyed what I did play originally, but at the same time, I didn't like it very much. So I'm kind of hoping there'll be more positive changes in that aspect. But at the same time, I'm not getting my hopes up because at this point, all the resources that have truly been put into, DayZ are now elsewhere making whatever other game. I think it's H1Z1 actually. But we'll see how it is. It's Game Preview. It can end up being in that slot for 6 months or the next 5 years. We'll see how it goes. It is what it is.
See, my thing is that we're currently in this phase with Game Preview, and what people don't realize, because this is coming from a PC gaming spectrum, is DayZ and PUBG are all mods built on Arma 3 initially. And the developers behind Arma 3 said there's a reason that series has never come to console. That's because the engine does not run properly on current consoles. Because a lot of engines are GPU heavy. Now, bear with me through this. Are very GPU heavy. The thing with the engine that runs Arma 3 and what a lot of these games are built on, problems with this engine is it's CPU heavy as well. And if anyone knows anything about basic console design, CPUs, even in the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro, are less than favorable. Your consoles are bottlenecked to all hell. So these games that are challenging to run on PC just don't run well on Xbox. And that's part of the reason I won't buy DayZ on Xbox Game Preview, because it didn't run well on PC for a very, very long time. And Hunt the Showdown, it still doesn't run on PC very well. So I'm really nervous. I love the premise of that game, but I feel like it's going to be another broken mess that sits in preview for 4 to 6 months before it's playable.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
And that's what Game Preview is for.
Right.
Yeah,
that's true.
It is. It is. And like I said, I hope that exposing it to a wider audience, lets them get more money to keep development going, things like that. So we'll see.
I want it to do well because Crytek needs a home run at this point. It's been a long time for them.
It has been a while, and they need something.
They've got an obscene amount of talent in that studio, and they just need to give me another Crysis game.
Yeah.
They can just call it Rise 2.
The creator of everything.
The Rise Up 2 edition.
There you go.
There's so many good puns in there.
Rise 2, the God edition.
Oh, God. No. We ain't doing this.
Just remember, the length of this show is not my fault tonight.
Yeah, I know that.
Rise 2, the Evolution series.
So there's some quality of life announcements at Inside Xbox as well. And when I say quality of life, is more content for games that have already been delivered. State of Decay 2 is getting a zombie horde style mode.
Daybreak.
It's neat. It's $9 if you don't have the Ultimate Edition. The cool thing is it adds in a ton of weapons and vehicles to your single player experience as well. So it adds in a bunch of military grade weapons, which were kind of lacking in the base game.
Yep, just a bit.
So that's pretty cool. I'm glad they're adding that stuff in. Like I said, quality of life stuff, improving the game, giving people some stuff. If you had the Ultimate Edition, you get for free. I won't really talk much on that. There isn't much to say about that. There's the Sea of Thieves, the Cursed Sails.
No, the Forsaken Shores.
Forsaken Shores. Okay. Yeah, Sam, anything to input on that? Since you're the only one besides maybe, I think Mike plays Sea of Thieves a lot more than I do anyway.
It's pretty cool. I don't think it's... Cursed Sails has been better in terms of the time campaign, but I think Forsaken Shores is really going to shake up the meta, and it's going to shake up the world, introducing, the volcanic areas and the hot geysers and the water that'll hurt you if you swim through it, and you got the rowboats now that we can load treasure into. That's going to be pretty neat.
Mm-hmm.
And merchant missions. That's
new merchant missions, right? Yeah. They did reveal that. Yep, new type of merchant missions.
Yep.
Although we don't really have the details.
The only thing that I've read is that you'll be able to transport merchant items from one come on, Mike, the base to another.
One outpost?
Yes, thank you. From one outpost to another. So you'll be able to do, those kind of courier missions.
Mm. I gotcha.
I'd say that's cool. And Rare adding more and more things to Sea of Thieves, that's awesome. They've kept their promise twice over on delivering more content to that game and adding more things to that game. They had that new type of ship, where I think it's a 3-man ship. Once again, this is me trying not to speak on things I know nothing about. I wanted to cover this, but I haven't played a lot of Sea of Thieves. I might try and jump into it again now that there's more content to it, but this endless backlog is not helping.
Nope.
So there was a big rumor with Xbox, inside Xbox Gamescom, that everyone remembers Major Nelson posting the covered box with a coming soon announcement, and everyone was like, "Oh, what's this?" And then you had Tom Warren out here going, "Oh, there's a $150 codename Washburn controller that's going to get a tease." So everyone's thinking that we are going to get an Elite version 2.
There's no such thing as an insider. I will say it, and I will continue to say it, and I will say it until I'm dead. There's no such thing as, I don't care if they call you one. That he worked everybody up into a frenzy, and then his big thing. Well, it was still a controller. Hey, shut up. I hate this. This is. I've been around long enough to know, as an old journalist myself, nobody tells you something that they don't want you to put out there. And if it's not something that if you don't work for the company and you're leaking it, nobody is telling you, "Hey, listen, Tom, we're gonna put the Washburn controller out at Gamescom, but I don't want you to tell anyone. Let us know." That doesn't happen. It says, "I'm gonna tell you something, but I don't want you to tell anybody else." No, that's not how it works, and that's it drives me nuts. It drives me nuts.
I agree.
So through all this teasing that everyone had for it,
sorry, off my soapbox.
Yeah, no, that's fine. No, I don't disagree with you. The thing is like you can get inside information, but generally, if someone shares inside information with you and you leak it once, they're never going to share it with you again.
I was going to say, here's where Mike and I disagree, but only slightly. There are true insiders, but they keep their mouths shut and they don't share what they know. That's the difference. People who share things out there they don't. Yeah. I think that's the difference.
But those guys, those aren't really. I wouldn't call them insiders because they're not reporting on it.
I know. That's why I'm not doing insider. You know what I mean?
I would just call those people.
The people who know things like that are keeping their mouths shut.
Right. I would just call those friends of the company.
Right.
Yeah. See, I get tidbits. Sam knows about this. I won't go into details about this, but I have a friend that works within the industry that sometimes tells me stuff. I don't write it down. I don't make articles about it or anything. I just get to sit there when I see the announcement and go, "Hey, I knew about that." But that's just kind of the thing. And everyone got worked up about this. I kept my hype in check because I know better. Internet hype cycles are absolutely terrible.
I've been telling people for weeks to keep their expectations low regarding Gamescom, but
I don't know why anyone at this point thinks they're going to drop bombs on Inside Xbox. You are naive to think they're going to drop big news on Inside Xbox. They have not done anything like that at all. Yeah, this is to cover quality of life things for their titles that they're pushing right now: Sea of Thieves, State of Decay, PUBG, things like that. And to show you small things that are coming to Game Pass, this, that. They're not going to drop new Xbox. Ooh, this is Xbox Scarlet on. And no, just stop. If you go in with those expectations every time and you immediately go to Twitter and go, "Hey, what a disappointing episode of Inside Xbox. I didn't see anything new or worthwhile talking about." Well, it's probably because you don't own one and you don't play any of the games they talked about. So just shut up.
It's true though. It's damn true.
I had a conversation with a fellow who shall remain nameless, and he was like, "Oh, they didn't really show anything on Inside Xbox." I'm like, "Well, technically, they announced a bunch of preview games. They did a bunch of DLC for games that they released. They did some
console bundles.
They did some console bundles." I'm like, it's basically catered to their fan base, which is the purpose of the show. "Oh, but didn't give me a reason to buy an Xbox." No, because this show's basically for people that already bought the console.
Here's the thing: people for months, actually, I would say for years, including myself, have argued that Microsoft and Xbox are not being transparent enough with the daily goings on, and they're not hyping any stuff up. Inside Xbox is their answer to that. It's, hey, let's get a little more emphasis on the fact No Man's Sky is coming to Xbox. Here's some enhanced 360 titles. It's not going to be E3 or a mini E3 every single month. It's just a nice update on the status quo. That's all.
You get some corny stuff from Major Nelson, some really bad jokes from AC Bongos. That's what you're going for the Inside Xbox for. Like, they're not going to drop bombs. It's just a little fun show they do to keep you updated on what's going on with your console for the month.
Right. And to make you wonder what in the hell is going on with Crackdown.
Thank you.
That's another thing.
See, I mean, this is why I said we're going to talk about some of the things that aren't.
Sorry.
No, Mike. This was planned all along. I sat there with Sam, and I'm not even hyped for Crackdown 3. I have no interest in Crackdown 3.
I am losing my
Same here.
So this is my problem. I'm losing complete and utter. And I was like so excited when they first announced it, and I'm literally beginning to lose my interest in the game. It's kind of scary.
I mean, I'll say this about Crackdown 3, okay? Look, it was playable at E3 2017. The single player was playable anyways. It was decent. It was fun. Wasn't anything mind-blowing, but it was fun. But time and time again, they continue to not show the multiplayer, and they don't show the gameplay. I mean, until we are proven wrong, I think it speaks for itself at this point. I really, I would love to be proven wrong. Trust me, I would love to be forced to guzzle crow on this and it turn out excellent, phenomenal.
I'm with you.
But at this point, we have to err on the side of caution and just say it'll be what it is.
And Sam, you know the news. You know the news pieces as well as anybody. Look at what has happened from the development side. Epic buys CloudGen. So, David
Jones.
Thank you. David Jones is not even on the project anymore. He's not even on it. Sumo Digital takes over the entire game.
Right.
And nothing against Sumo Digital. I am sure.
No, they're a decent developer. They are.
But that whole thing, Regen, is no longer even a part of the development. I mean, this
Reagent
thing has
Games doesn't even exist anymore.
Right. Reagent Games is gone. And so you've got this entire troubled development, and I think, Phil's in a corner. He cannot cancel this game. This game has to come out.
It has to come out for the sake of coming out.
And I think that's why I have always believed, and this is the first time I've ever said this. I haven't even said this on my own show. I firmly believe that part of the decision to put first-party games in Game Pass was to accommodate what was going on with Crackdown, because I think they realized that Crackdown is probably, I hate to say it, but it's probably going to flop hard.
I can't quite co-sign that. I think it's a little more complicated than that. I think it's just that Microsoft has, as far as Game Pass, has crunched the data, and they know that games perform better through Game Pass. That's what we're seeing. Sea of Thieves has done better. State of Decay 2 has done better. Warhammer Vermintide 2, by early accounts, has taken off on Xbox because of it. But I mean, don't get me wrong.
I meant at the beginning.
Yeah. It was definitely a factor, but I mean, Game Pass is so much bigger than that right now.
No.
I don't want to dive into a giraffe trail, but Game Pass is something huge for them, and Crackdown 3 is a blip on the radar. If Crackdown 3 is a decent 82, 84 scoring game, and Game Pass helps it survive, all the better.
And I think that is what their mindset was when they made the decision for first party games. I mean, they're right. And 505 Games, who just took over development of Laser League, said the same thing. I mean, the third party developers are seeing it too. You get games that are in, and in fact, Microsoft said this, you get games that are in franchise, and you get one of the pieces of the franchise in Game Pass. There's a good chance the gamers are going to buy those other pieces. And The example I brought up last night on NLG was Hitman. The fact that Hitman is in Game Pass, I guarantee you, the reason that IO that made that choice with Microsoft is because they know good and well that a good chunk of the Game Pass fan base is going to go buy Hitman Season 2.
I'm one of them. Dude, I'm one of them. I did not play Hitman until it came to Game Pass. I simply didn't have the time or money to do it, but I'm playing it now, and you can be darn sure I'll be checking out the second season.
Yeah. Well, that's also why I've also been saying why Bethesda has been showing increased support or continual support in Game Pass as well. Because they go, okay, yeah, let's add a couple games to Game Pass at first. And they went, oh, holy, what? Well, this is pretty unexpected for sales numbers. Like, yeah, people are playing it through Game Pass, but then they're also going out and purchasing it afterwards. That's a pretty significant number too. Okay, maybe we'll just keep tossing a little bit more games at it in the first place. And now down the road, I'm gonna personally, I see continual more third-party AAA support towards Game Pass as well, to where eventually you're gonna be finding a lot of your favorite AAA games that are multi-platform be on Game Pass day one on launch, and you're just going to go, okay, well, I don't need to pre-order the game, but now I have all these amazing AAA third-party games and exclusives coming day one to Game Pass, and they go, the value is exponential through Game Pass because of that in general.
No, I don't doubt that at all. I guess where my it's a big decision to say every one of our first party games, no matter what comes out, is going to come out on Game Pass. And I'm sure that they have factored in, well, what is it going to mean for Forza Horizon 4? What's it going to mean for Sea of Thieves and that kind of thing? But I think it's why, earlier in the show when it was talking about we were going to talk about Microsoft wanting to snap up other mid-sized developers to put games in Game Pass. I think that it insulates them from the possibility of a game not doing well at retail, but still being able to get out there to enough people to make it worth the development cycle.
Yeah,
and I think Crackdown is going to be one of those where it is not going to do well on shelf. Because they're not showing it. And now they have a chance to say, well, here, you can still try it. Just give it a try and see if you like it.
And if it ends up a good game or even a great game, after all, it'll find an audience through Game Pass.
And that's why I think they made that decision.
Sure, it equalizes things because the great games are just going to perform even better than they would have, and it helps smooth things out for the lower ones. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Which does anyone else have anything else to say about that before we move to the final topic?
No.
Nick?
All good.
No, I'm good because the service thing plays into the subtopic for the last one.
Yeah, this goes into our final topic, so go ahead. Take it away.
Oh, yeah, because we already covered like small studios and stuff. Perfect. So Xbox All Access. And the key point, I put the biggest asterisk, like a 50-pound asterisk on this. This is a rumor. Well-sourced rumor that I've heard from multiple sources. But a rumor nonetheless. So what Xbox All Access is supposed to be is you're supposed to be able to go into a Microsoft store and pick up a Xbox One S or an Xbox One X. $22 a month for the Xbox One S, $35 a month for the Xbox One X over a 2-year period. And you get 2 years of Game Pass and 2 years of Xbox Live. And you pay this $22 a month and $35 a month. You get all these services and everything else. And it ends up totaling out to being the same price if you bought it right and then you bought 2 years of Game Pass, 2 years of Xbox Live. So basically, it's a rent-to-own contract, essentially. No different than if you bought a console and put on your credit card or anything like that, except for the fact there's no interest on it, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
So it was kind of interesting when this rumor hit because 98% of my feed went, this is great. This gives people that may not be able to drop the money up front or might be trying for them to drop the money up front for a console. Me personally, I wish more consoles had this kind of option. If if I could go into get a Nintendo Switch and put like $20 a month onto a Switch, I'd do it. And the key reason behind this isn't a financial issue. I have a problem that because I've got kids and everything else, I have a hard time dropping $400+ on myself. If I've got extra money, I put it towards my kids or I put it towards their college or something like that. Whereas if I'm spending $20 a month, the buyer's guilt there, so to speak. But I just want to kind of get your input because as a whole, I think this is good because it undercuts rent-to-own businesses, which I find kind of on the shadier, crappy side of the scale of things. Because I know, I'm not sure about stateside, but rent-own places here, you usually end up paying about 4 times the value for the object across your payment periods, usually.
Yeah. Well, you're exactly right. You know, as someone who, if I had this option when the Xbox One released, it would have been a whole different scenario of how I ended up getting it. I have become a big advocate of subscription based gaming. You will find no bigger supporter and advocate of Game Pass. I have EA Access, and the minute that Sony converts their PlayStation Now to a similar system where you can download the games, keep the games, and it's, $10 to $15 a month, I'm in, and so this is just that personified. What I think they need to do, and I hope this is part of it when they announce it, is they need a tier between that where you don't necessarily need a console, but you get Xbox Live and Game Pass.
Absolutely. There needs to be a combined option with a neat little discount if you're going to subscribe.
See, when this rumor originally dropped about Xbox All Access, I originally thought they were just bundling Xbox Live, Game Pass, and EA Access as a 1-year membership. And I was like, oh, cool.
That's what I thought. Well, I wouldn't think that they would bundle EA Access with it, but I thought the same thing. And then you would get more, kind of access to more things.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. When I first saw this and when I first read it, the rumor came up. Shout out to Jez Gordon from Windows Central. He's the one. It was rumored by Tom Warren before then. He mentioned a couple of others that mentioned, but Jez really dove in on what this supposedly is. I'll give you my reaction. I said, huh. Neat. Okay, cool. It's it is good. It's a good thing. It doesn't really help any of us right now. It's nice. It'll be nice if they do it when next gen comes around. It's awesome for people who have yet to come into the ecosystem. I just think it's a good thing. I'm not going to overplay it and say it's some sort of game changer, but it's not a bad thing, and there's no way to play it as a bad thing either.
No.
I think it's just that simple.
Nah, screw poor people.
I would also point out that for everyone,
luxury.
Yeah, for everyone who continues on that mantra that because Microsoft has decided to get back into the PC space and maybe bring games to mobile, that somehow the Xbox is no longer their bread and butter. It's their fourth choice. It's not what they care about anymore. For a company that supposedly is just dropping their Xbox for everything else, they're sure not showing it.
A company that is dropping their Xbox would not have spent several $100 million on 5 new studios, one of which is the ground up in Santa Monica, which if you understand living in California and, you know, rent over there, that's an extremely expensive proposition.
Yeah.
And again, we're kind of running long on the tooth here, but I'll say this as well. And I've said this for months, and I'll continue to say it. For Game Pass to work, it has to have games. For Game Pass to work, they have to bring games to it. I'll say this right now. If you think they're done building or acquiring studios, they're not done. Not by a long shot.
Nope.
But,
and
you know.
To wrap up what Xbox has done in a direction, hate him, dislike him, disagree with him, whatnot. But when you've got people like Colin Moriarty, who is one of the most openly critical people of the Xbox brand, of just brands in general, saying, and I quote, Microsoft has been making incredibly smart, forward-thinking moves with Xbox One, Game Pass, backwards compatibility, open crossplay, new studios, and now there's a whole pay-as-you-go bundle rumor. Anyone who thinks Xbox brand is down for the count is kidding themselves.
Yeah.
It's true, though.
Yeah. I mean, they have not brought Game Pass to PC for a reason. They have not brought the ability to play Xbox 360 and OG Xbox games to the PC for a reason. And every time I hear because Forza Horizon 4 is going to be on the PC, that somehow that means that the Xbox is dead and they don't care about their console business anymore. You can show 8 other things that are like that show that it is incorrect.
What they are doing sorry, Mike, I don't mean to interrupt you,
please.
What they are doing, I'll say this, and I've said this before, I'll continue to say it. They are servicing the PC crowd who they will not get otherwise. They are servicing the PC crowd who are stuck on their PCs and saying, nope, we're not leaving. That's the end of the discussion. And it's like, okay, fine. Then if you're on Windows 10, you can have our games. You can play this. You can play that. You can here's Halo Wars 2. Here's Gears 4. Here's Forza Horizon 4. That kind of thing. But you're absolutely right. They haven't brought Game Pass to PC. A, because it's not really an economic proposition yet. It wouldn't make a lot of sense. But B, because Xbox is still the focus.
Right.
Even if Xbox for them, Microsoft right now, whether or not they'll reach is a completely different topic we don't have time for. But their minds, the end game for them, is building Xbox to the point where they can reach the core gamer demographic and they can reach people by streaming to their phones and the fringe crowd who refuse to do anything but play on their PC. That's what they are trying to do here.
Yep.
So,
yeah, there's tons of people I know that are PC guys that play Xbox games to their PC, and they just don't have an interest in owning an Xbox. They also don't own a PS4, though. They're just like, I like my PC.
Yeah. And you know what? Microsoft gets their money either way.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, if you spend $60 to buy Forza Horizon 4, I don't think they care where you play it.
Yep.
And that's the thing in the long run. And it's always funny because once you get outside, like the more reporting I do and the more articles I write, the more I get out of the Twitter social bubble. And on Twitter, it's every thread is Xbox is dying, they're killing their brand, everything else. And you start looking at the statistical numbers behind that. Xbox has grown in profit month over month on average over 56%. Last month alone on NPD, they grew in profit by 60%. That is an astronomical amount of money. Most companies grow in the single-digit percentages quarter over quarter, month over month. You don't see double-digit growth.
Yep, I agree.
People can sit there and say service-based. This is the thing. I'll use this to wrap up this topic. People are saying in games, no one wants a rent-to-own system as they type away on their smartphones that they did not pay up front for. People are saying that there's no way video games could ever go to a Netflix-style service while they watch all their movies on Netflix, never go to a theater or buy movies anymore. The thing is all media changes. Do you remember back? I remember back when VHSs were the mainstay and people started doing DVD players, and DVD players were like $700. And people are like, no one's ever going to buy a DVD. No one can afford that. That's for rich people.
Then it became the mainstay, and it became where we are now.
Everything develops. Like if you went back and told someone in the 90s, like if you went back to Mike Mullis in 1990, or like I will say 1980s, and went, Mike, there's never going to be a cartridge again. It's all going to be digital. Mike would look at you and be like, "You're dumb."
Yeah. As an old computer guy, say 10 meg hard drive. I'll never fill that up.
It's funny because I
installed that up with the images you download.
Right.
Yeah. See, it's funny. I reinstalled Dark Forces on Steam, which is the old DOS game, and I think it was like 10 megabyte download, maybe.
Yep. Well, I want to real quick. I want to hit on something that just popped up in the chat from the platform live. He said you can use Game Pass on PC with the Xbox app on the PC.
Right.
That's different.
Right. You can take advantage of the Play Anywhere games.
Right.
That are in Game Pass. He is correct.
Right. That's correct. But if you want the rest of the library, you have to stream. I mean, that's great. And you know what? To be honest, if I'm being honest, $10 a month to get all the Microsoft exclusives, that in and of itself pays for Game Pass. I mean,
because if you're going to buy two $60 games a year, that's it. That's already covered. So.
Exactly. But to get the full effect of Game Pass, you need to stream your Xbox One to your PC, and that's how you get all the third-party games. You can't download Laser League. You can't download Mad Max. You cannot download the Mega Man collection on your PC and play it because those are not Play Anywhere. So that's different. But it doesn't make it not worth it.
Well, see, the thing is I love Game Pass, and the reason I love Game Pass is a little bit different than everyone else. I love Game Pass because sometimes it gives me a game that I was on the fence about buying and I wasn't sure about buying it, and I get to try it out. And if I like it and it's going to rotate out of Game Pass, I buy it. I'll give a perfect example of I don't have buyer's remorse for Sea of Thieves. I got it on Game Pass. It didn't click with me. But I went, okay, well, I can play this other thing on Game Pass or all these other games for the month I got it for. So I literally have no negative feelings towards Sea of Thieves. I installed it, played it, went, not for me. Uninstalled it, and I went on my way. If I dropped $60 on that, I would have been, I wouldn't say upset. I wouldn't even have made YouTube videos about it. I just don't have the energy anymore. But I would have been grumpy. I would have been grumpy. I would have been mildly inconvenienced. And like on the polar opposite of that is I played State of Decay 2 on Game Pass, and I bought that. I bought the Ultimate Edition because I love that game. I want my game share partner to play it. So I bought State of Decay 2. So I think with Game Pass, it's smart in the fact that people will try games that they'll either think they may not like or they're on the fence about, and then they go, hey, well, this membership's going to run out at the end of the month, so I might as well buy it. Or they just keep subscribing for the membership. So either way, Microsoft gets the money. And that's how this works, is if people sit there and go, well, I'm not going to buy any of the games. I'm just going to subscribe to Game Pass. Okay, cool. We're going to get 2 games a year out of you in cost just for Game Pass. That's kind of their thing. And like whether you want to take the pro-consumer angle or anything, it's just a smart way of monetizing your casual market. And that's all Microsoft's done this gen, is they know they're not moving hardware in the same amounts Nintendo and Sony are doing. So they figured out how to better monetize the crowd that's on their system. And Game Pass has done fantastic for that. And I will be very surprised if PS Now doesn't follow something similar in the upcoming years.
They have to.
The Sony has, any publisher out there is looking at Game Pass with extreme intent right now.
Oh, definitely. I don't see a reason for them not to right now.
Right, and they looked at it as the success of EA Access. I mean, everybody's looking at it. The question is who's the next third party to fall? That's the question.
You mean to jump on top of Game Pass or to try their own?
To try their own subscription?
Ubisoft.
That's who I think, but
Bethesda is not going to try. Their games are too single-player oriented. THQ Nordic and Focus Home are a little too small. They're more mid-sized publishers, and none of the others I can think of. Activision doesn't have enough games per year to justify.
They've got
Ubisoft,
2.
Yeah, they have like 2 games. They have Call of Duty and then one other thing plus a Destiny expansion. This year they've also got Spyro, so there's that.
Even then,
Ubisoft makes sense.
Yeah, but even then, it's almost too late to jump on a subscription-based service for their games. Because
it depends how they did it. With Ubisoft,
yeah, that's true.
Like, bear with me with this one, Jared. Like, if Ubisoft was to say announce their service-based games, but you got all the expansions for free with their service. So, like, if they said if you subscribe to, we're going to call it the Ubisoft door because access is overused and pass just doesn't work for it. So the Ubisoft door.
You play premium, but yeah.
You play premium, whatever they want to call it. So if you subscribe to this, you get Rainbow Six Siege, but not just the base game, but all the operators from all the DLCs. If you get the Division, you get all the expansions with it. You get Ghost Recon Wildlands, we give you all the expansions with it. That's how I can see it working.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, that's true, and I could definitely see it working, especially if it's like in Canadian dollars, $12 to $15 a month. Because I know US dollars is going to end up being like $10 to $12 a month or whatever like that. But around that price point, I think it'd definitely be worth it.
Well, hell, you don't even have to go that high with it. Look at EA Access. That's like $30.
That's $6 a month. $6 a month. You're not just
30 a year. Yeah, it's $30 a year.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing too. Is like with the amount that EA Access is good value because it's only $30 a year. You buy it for a year, it's like $30. That's like half the cost of an EA game. I got that out of just avoiding buying Mass Effect Andromeda.
You save more money by being a part of EA Access, and like if you even pre-order two of their games a year or whatever, the amount of money that you save from the discount that you get through EA Access for those pre-orders pays off for the subscription in general. So like you're kind of paying for yourself and getting the games that you want permanently cheaper.
Yeah. And as the final wrap-up thought, like people don't seem to understand this with these service bases, is my cousin, she's got a kid and whatnot. He's about 10, 11 now. Well, we got him an Xbox for Christmas last year. The thing is we couldn't buy him a lot of games. Like I gave him some of my games that I had, but I don't have a lot of physical copies, right? So I gave him a handful of games. But with Game Pass, when it came out, I bought him a year's worth. And to him, it's like the best thing ever. He can play Halo with his friends. He can play Gears with his friends. He can play all these smaller indie games, or he can play some of these platformers. He can play some Xbox 360 games, everything else. And it costs like $60. Well, more than that. Sorry, it's not $60. It's way more than that. But regardless is the fact that he has access to all these titles without having to go out and buy individually all these games he was interested in. And it was less financial stress on my family member for this to just get Game Pass versus having to take him to EB Games and go, we can't get that because that's too expensive.
Mm-hmm.
It's options. And Xbox's mantra since Phil Spencer's come over is accessibility. Accessibility is Xbox's mantra. We've seen it with the adaptive controller, which has been a huge thing for Microsoft. They even made the box easy accessible, which every damn thing that's ever made in a box needs to have an easy accessible open.
No joke.
Yeah.
But their big thing is accessibility. And by using Xbox All Access Game Pass, removing the cost barrier, it's allowing people that may not be in the best of places to game. And to me, why would I not want that for people? That's where I sit with that whole thing, whether it's Game Pass or anything else. Like there's guys I know, like when I talked about Xbox All Access on my Twitter feed, some of the guys, I can't remember the guy's Twitter handle. He seemed like a lovely guy. He doesn't follow me. I don't follow him. But he was talking about how he had recently become unemployed. So the only way he was able to keep up with games was playing through Game Pass. And like when you're able to do that, there's options. Itself. There's like 4 or 5 people that told me on that post that, hey, the only reason I was able to keep gaming because I got laid off, fired, whatever, was Game Pass.
Yeah, it speaks for itself. The value literally speaks for itself with Game Pass. It does.
And as Jared will co-sign, up in Canada land, God, full price games are a nightmare.
$80 minimum. $80 minimum for a basic game. You guys like, oh yeah, we got $60. We go, it's $80 for us, and then collectors.
Plus our taxes, our sales tax is dumb sometimes too. It's like
I'm 90. Lucky. I'm lucky being in Alberta. I don't have to pay 5% tax in general for anything, but still.
We're up to 14% over here.
It's ridiculous, dude. I know. I used to be in BC with a 13% GST. I understand, but still, like when you can pinch pennies, when you can save your money, there is no reason to discount it as a bad thing. You're saving money, but you're still getting full value, especially with something like Game Pass and Xbox All Access, where you combine it all together. It's saving you money, but you're still getting everything that you need and that you want. So it's a no-brainer. There's not much to say about it. There's not much to talk about. It's just simple logic. If you can't see it in a good light, then I'm sorry, but you're dumb.
I will. I'll co-sign that, and it's just something I hope that pops up next gen, because if the next Xbox or the next PS5 or anything like that have it so that I can pay $30 for 2 years or whatever to own the console, I'll do that.
I'll do it.
I paid outright for my Xbox One X, but if I had the choice between paying outright and paying monthly, I'm going to end up paying monthly, because to me, that's a much easier, money management system, so I can keep track of my money and make sure I don't go into debt paying outright for something that I want right away, where I can still get it right away, but not pay outright and pay like a chunk of flash out of my own body just to pay for the damn thing.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can look at it in a bad light at all. And say
considering there's no interest or add-on fees, or they're not charging you $200 worth more than the console or anything like that.
If there's no change, if we can truly only speculate, because there's no official announcement just yet. It's still a lot to talk, a lot to rumor. But if it does become true, and if everything is 100% accurate, you go, how can this be a bad thing? I can literally walk out tomorrow. I can probably get another Xbox One X. I can have 2, maybe 3 if I really want to, just for the hell of it. But I can afford it because of this payment
plan. Goes triple X.
Come on, why not? Right. Why the hell not? I can upgrade my girl's Xbox One S to an Xbox One X by trading in the Xbox One S and get a discount on the Xbox One X, but still pay a monthly payment plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? That's a whole other thing. Is that what about people that want to upgrade? I didn't even think about that.
Well, see, there's this whole thing, and it's funny to me.
Sorry, Sam.
It's funny to me. Is the one thing that the downplaying on this, and me and Sam laugh at people in DMs. Like 98% of our DM conversation is mocking people on Twitter. And the absolute gold part of it is people are like, oh, well, Xbox is just trying to take advantage of poor people. I'm like, oh, wait, what? Okay. And then one of the best lines I ever saw was someone's like, well, what if when you're done paying your Xbox One X off, it's less value than what you paid for it? I'm like, oh, you mean like my cell phone, which as soon as I take it out of the box is $400 less value.
You drive a brand new vehicle off a lot. It loses 10 to 15 grand in value. Like, how did you guys live life? Do you know?
Like, I had a dude straight up telling me, he's like, "Oh, you should never do payment plans for anything." I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna save up till I'm 50 years old to buy my house in cash."
Right.
Even then, you don't think you'll be able
like
to.
7 shoe boxes under my bed as I do Payday 2 heists to try to afford a house.
You're gonna afford a cardboard box by the time you're 50 at this economy.
Yeah, exactly. So at the end of the day, it's a good thing. More options aren't a bad thing.
Yeah,
whatever.
Options for people.
Options for different people for different situations. And I'll say the same thing if PlayStation comes out or Nintendo does it, and people are like, "Oh, well, you're only saying it was good because it was Xbox." No, it's just a good thing. I think.
But remember,
I think giving people more options, considering what our poverty line is and how hard it is for some people to struggle to purchase games and everything, I think more options for gamers is an absolutely wonderful thing. It's not a fanboy thing. It's giving people more options. It's just good. So we're going to wrap up the podcast so Sam can eat before waiting for Tech Podcast to start.
Yeah. That's probably a good idea.
So we'll do outros here. So, Sam, where can people find you?
If you want to follow me, you can follow me on Twitter at Samuel Talbert. I'll happily talk games, movies, tech, TV shows with you, whatever. Please check out TechGamesNetwork.com for all of the news, reviews, opinion pieces, and oh boy, reviews. We have a Strange Brigade review coming out this week sometime. Can't exactly say when, but it'll be sometime this week, so please be excited for that. And the fall rush is about to begin, so hold on to your wallets, okay? Because it is about to get brutal. It's going to start with Spider-Man, and it ain't going to let up. And it ain't going to let up until Country Roads take us home to Fallout 76. So hold on.
Of those tall skyscrapers.
Stop, Jared. No, Jared.
Spider-Man cleans out your wallet like no one can.
The worst part is you all know I'm probably going to end up playing that damn game.
You will. You absolutely will.
I probably will. There's a good chance. Oh, boy.
See, what we should do, Sam, we should just wash our hands of it. Let Jared review Spider-Man. Let Anchorman review Fallout. And we'll have the most non-biased reviews on the internet.
It's true. You'll get a damn honest opinion out of me.
I'm not dealing with that tonight.
Sam's hungry.
Shoot.
All right. Jared?
Well, people can find me on Twitter at RageVirus_X or at TickGamesNetwork.com for, as Sam always says, news, views, and reviews or opinion pieces and all that fun stuff. But yeah, you can find me at Tick Games Network or Twitter.
And lurking.
Lurking.
The king of the gorilla gif. And,
yes, that's good.
And the huge thanks to Mike. Mike, where can people find you?
Well, before I give that out, thank you guys for having me again.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming out here on short notice.
Oh, yes, no problem. I tell Eric I miss him, and we'll catch up with him soon. So you can find me personally at on Twitter at StingerNLG, and you can check out our official Twitter feed, which typically is very news based at OG_NL Gaming, and then the channel itself, the original Next Level Gaming, you will find on Twitch at twitch.tv/OG_NL Gaming. The NLG show, which is myself and HTK360 and newly minted, he's in the chat room now, Fastback, who took over the third chair. We are on Friday nights at 9:30, although sometimes 10 p.m. if and Sam will know all about this if Shabbat services run over. So depends on the night. But normally we start at 9:30, and we are all multi-platform talk. Try to have a good time. I know you guys have been in the chat room. 2 of the 3 of you have been on the show. The third of you is going to be on the show. at some point when we can get you in there. And yeah, come hang out in one of the best chat rooms on the internet. And of course, we are a very happy and very proud Tick affiliate.
Yeah, I can't say enough about NLG as a whole. So I won't, because I
don't want
to.
Wow.
Alrighty then.
I absolutely love those guys. They've introduced me to so many different people, and without running this over even further, I remember my first interaction with the NLG guys is when I joined Multiverse, and Anchor messaged me on Twitter. He's like, "We're going to war." I'm like, "What do you mean we're going to war?" He's like, "We're fighting these guys." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "I'm starting this Twitter beef with these guys." I'm like, "Okay, who are the
why?"
He's like, "It doesn't matter. Just be there. Be trolly." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And that's how I ended up meeting Mike.
Yeah, it turned out that Anchor was trying to be Anchor.
Yeah. Stir the pot and run away. That's the Anchor way.
Right. Rumor has it he may not make Multiverse on Monday.
Really? I didn't even know Anchor still was alive.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that name since I was a boy. So you can find me for all hot takes and garbage video game opinions at Undead3XVI. You can find me dangling from a tree from my review schedule at Tick Games Network. I've got, in the upcoming week, I've got Overcooked 2, We Happy Few, Spider-Man after that, and then there's something else after that, but
I'll remind you, don't worry.
Yeah, I know you will. Son of a...
Don't worry. It's definitely not me doing that one. That's
So I want to thank everyone for coming by the chat. It's always a great time. Shout out to all the guys that watch this podcast after it goes live, because they either have their own shows and everything else. We've got some great desks. We have some great desks lined up for you next week. We have Dan from Digital Hoarders. He'll be on the show next week, so you guys can look forward to that. He watches the show frequently. He's a really great guy. I really look forward to talking games with him. So that's been the Gaming Perspective Podcast, episode 21. You can catch us all next week, potentially at the same time, 8 p.m. ish Eastern time. And thank you guys for tuning in.